How you doing, everybody? Can you hear me okay? Hi, Klaus. Good evening to you. Caliber 3135. Clyde, how are you, man? Corbin. Hey, Truth Fears. Um, well, Seth Morley and Mike. How you doing, Mike? Tennessee Mike. Let me see. You must be from Ohio, right? Um, Sound okay, everybody? Hey, Joseph. How can we talk about watches? How about using the language of interpretive dance? Casper, how you doing, man? Oh, that sounds good. Great. Um, okay, good. Okay, we're all set. Uh, one of the things. Hey, Turkey Vulture and Chi Town. Where's Chi Town in California? Milton, how's it going? Steve, Bo. um, okay. Uh, One of the things that happened that it sort of threw me off. We were having a discussion about something or other, and this guy says he comes in with something really stupid. I mean, just like to show off, like, yeah, look at me. And and what it reminded me of, if you've ever been on the phone and you're talking to somebody and you get a robocall, it's like a robocall. They've got no business interrupting you at all, but they do it because that's what robocalls do. And hey, Deacon. Um, okay. Hey, Julius. Hey, Redskins. How's it going? James and Mooney 42. How's it flying, Mooney? So anyway, this is what I wanted to talk about. Is that like let's say somebody brings into one of the discussion groups, and they say, I'm thinking of getting oh, any watch. I'm wearing my FP Journe Chronomet Souverain. And I say, well, I'm thinking of getting one of those. I'm thinking of getting a Chronomet Souverain. And then we're talking about it. Well, it's got this, it's got the double barrels, and they're running parallel, and they're this and that, and I like thus and so about it. And it's one of those kinds of discussions. And then other people are saying, well, I've got the Chronomet Blue. They have the same movement. Somebody else says, oh, I've got one in gold. And then, we're just sort of talking about it and trying to give the person some information about it who asked about it. And some jackass comes in and just says something really stupid. And, it just sort of like, well, what do you do? On the one hand, I don't want to, especially when it's not my discussion group. You don't want to throw somebody, ban them or anything like that. Maybe if they do it all the time, yeah, but it just sort of like, it's like manners. Robocalls have got to be the worst manners ever because, like two people in the hallway having a discussion about something and somebody just bust in the middle of it. That's rude. And I'm thinking, well, we ought to maybe we ought to all read Emily Dickinson or something. I don't know. So what are your thoughts and ideas about that? That's what I wanted to kick around. Um, yeah. Then someone says, "But no, it's not a Rolex." Yeah, something like that. I don't want to pick on the Rolex users. There, some poor guy is interested in a Rolex, and some jerk comes in and starts calling name. Oh, yeah, you Rolex guys are a bunch of jerks. You're all stupid and suckers. That's the same thing. So what do we do? Hi, Back to the Future Geek. Um, okay, where I ignore them is best practice, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. By and large, you ignore them, and it's like you almost need a daycare center. Here, go to the daycare center. I wish I had a site. Maybe I had to open up a site and call it the daycare center for people who want to do that. There are probably some sites that are already that way. Or when someone says it's soft and just completely blows it off. Yeah, that's another thing. Chi Town. Here's the one of the things that somebody, and I've seen a lot of people do this. If they don't like the looks of something, that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of watches I don't like the looks of. But then they go into this great detail. Oh, and it's the most hideous thing they've ever seen. I'm thinking, what? Is that, first of all, I mean, it's the most hideous thing that they've ever seen. They haven't gotten out much, but the other thing is that doesn't really add anything. If somebody hates something, okay, fine, they hate it. Uh, for whatever reason, there's some watches I get very mad about because they stick in cheap movements and try to charge me a lot for it. But that's a reason I can say this is what I don't like. Or I prefer a parallel double barrels over serial, even though they both perform a function and know the difference between the two. A lot of these clowns don't know anything about watches, but they just sort of they I don't know what they're doing. Okay, let's see what Clyde says. Somebody says, but it's not a Rolex. Okay, that's one thing. Can I watch Angie Dickinson instead? Well, it depends. I've got an Angie Dickinson story, but I'm not going to tell it here. Um, Decon, I came here to get away from the road. No, we're all watch lovers, my God. I tell you, if I ask someone who's any kind of fan of any kind of brand, saying, what is it about the watch you like? They'll tell me. I mean, they will list this and this and this and this. Now, some of the reasons may not be ones that I find particularly important, but other people might. For example, I don't pay a lot of attention to resale value because I don't care about it. What I care about are other kinds of things having to do with the quality and the craftsmanship of the watch and so forth. Okay. Abdul. Hey, Abdul. Abdul's our winner. He won the Grand Prix picks. For those of you, we have one more winner too. I've got a contact. I don't want to mention them until I have, but that was great. Joseph, stupid comments are often a cry for help and need for acceptance. Let's be tolerant and appreciate all. Joseph, I agree with that. Okay. But the thing is that it's like a robocall. Somebody bust into the middle of a conversation. Somebody's trying to get some information. And, I mean, it's like, yeah, you get, when you're a little kid, people expect that. A little kid comes up, they tell you the truth. I want this or I want that. But, as we grow up, we're supposed to, learn how to interact with people. Okay. Hey, Milton, how's it going, man? Let's see what else you guys have. With ignorance comes arrogance. You're right about that, Klaus. That is so true. It's the most arrogant of the dummies. Okay. Let's see what you see. Someone goes into a simian range and explodes if you don't agree with them. Yeah. That's simian rage. Simian. Okay. Hey, Armin, how's it going, man? I don't care about resale either. Okay. You have so much. I mean, I'm remanding you to high school. Okay, Steve, send me back to high school. God, I tell you, I wish I were at my high school weight. Let's see. Bring on down Don Haynes. Okay, Decon, somebody just don't fit in like Mark's friend on AC stream last night. I don't watch that, so I wouldn't know that. And Angela Dickinson, now she's one I don't know. Hey, Geezer, how's it going, man? Okay, let's see. Everyone has different tastes and even more different tastes at different times. So if the watch makes you happy, then it did its job. Yeah, that's true, Abdul. What the whole point is, though, is that we're not talking about like individuals sitting on Mars all by themselves, but rather we're talking about interaction. between people, and that, because to me, if I'm thinking of buying a watch, like yeah, like I want to buy a Rolex Prince. If I ask about the Rolex Prince, I'm going to get this from Rolex owners. they they'll, they they don't know too much about it. Sorry, Rolex guys. Some of them do, but a lot of them like, well, they got rid of it, so it's irrelevant. Either that, or tell me it didn't have much of a resale value, or best of all, they'll tell me some really good information. And it's the kind of thing, as there are these back and forths that we have about this. But I mean, we're not talking about freedom of speech any more than a robocall is demonstrating freedom of speech. What they're demonstrating is interruption. And like I said, if you're on the phone with somebody, and especially if you're expecting an important call, and one of these, hello, you won a lottery, something. Okay, what else you guys after that? Hey, Geezer, how's it going, man? Forbin, you say to a troll, is that you? Don't. Is that you? Don't. Don. Oh, is that you, Don? Okay. It's not Don. Don's not a troll. Let's see. Everything is fixable. Stupid is not. It might be. Almond reviews. I usually try to refrain from negative comments about watches, even when I can explain my thoughts, because people take it personally. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if I'm asking about a watch, I want to know the negatives, though. I mean, if somebody says, "Well, look, I had one of those watches, and it broke down every other day. They sent me a new one. It broke down too." You want to know that kind of stuff. On the other hand, you don't need someone to scream at you like, "Oh, this is the ugliest. This is that doesn't tell you any information." Or they say if it's brand X, well, it must be good. Yeah, well, that doesn't tell you anything either. Hey, Dr. A and B, how's it going, man? Um, Turkey vulture, rare birds. Okay. Hey, Howard, how you doing, man? Okay, when we collectively realize the truth of our not knowing what we don't know, we can begin the process of learning together as participants in a civilized discourse. Took the words right out of my mouth, Howard. That's great. I mean, I wouldn't say it quite so eloquently, but that's the truth. I mean, it's, I don't know. I just, I, we we have places where we can talk about watches, and we shouldn't have to be afraid. Like if I say, well, like I really like volcanes, like, oh my god, a volcane, they're awful, or this, and this is by people who've never had one, they've never touched one, they don't know anything about them, and it's this level of, I suppose, that we lose the kind of information that we may desperately need in terms of making a purchasing decision. Okay, let's see what else you guys are talking about. Bill would speed. I wouldn't speed punch Don. Why do you think I have anything against Don, Steve? Don't, come on. I'm a nice guy. I don't speed punch anybody. Let's see, Clyde, and then run up and down the stairs in a sweatsuit and beret. I don't know what you're thinking about. Okay, let's see. James Gunn defuse the situation by insulting their mother or nationality. That's not. I think that would see. This thing is that'll knock the whole train right off the tracks. Um, okay, let's see. Chi-Town, to paraphrase George Carlin, brand names are symbols, and leave the symbols for the symbol-minded. Yes, indeed. Um, hey, Pete's Times. Pete, how you doing? How do I treat someone who's willfully ignorant about horology? Usually, I just call them a horned idiot. Hey, beauty of sin. Let's see. People dismiss watches for many reasons. These people usually are not actually interested in watches, just status symbols. Yeah, yeah. There's some of that going around. I think that some brands have some stigma for people, some positive and some negative. Yeah, you're right. Abdul, I do think that's right. I mean, there's some. Oh yeah, I had this thing. I got so much grief about Invictus. That one guy who had an Invicta collection. Oh my God, you'd think that somebody streaked the Flower Club or something. It was just like, oh, we're all gonna faint. They're Invictus. You're right about that. That's the best place. Those are the things to learn about. You don't learn about stuff you don't know anything about. You don't discuss. You learn things about stuff that you discuss or want to discuss or want to find out stuff about. Okay, we'll drive to think about how we can talk about watches. We can always just refer to someone as a Steel Sports Center. There's this, no. Yes, I don't think that resolves anything. Okay, let's see. Hey, Kaz, how's it going, man? Um, that Today we are looking at some of the results of the Only Watch, and Kaz knows about Chopek, and the Chopek that was on the Only Watch. They thought it was going to get between something like 24 and 34,000. It came in at 137,000. So if you have a Chopek, you got something that's just went up, and I think a lot of people's estimation. Uh, have you heard of any people complain about cheapo Seiko automatic movements having reliability problems? I don't know. I haven't. I got a cheapo Seiko. I got a Seiko 5 that's got some history to it, and a lot of interesting stories with it. I love it. I went out and I raked all the leaves that I've been complaining about. Got all of my lake done. Milton, ignoring a troll is difficult. Yeah, it's like ignoring a robocall. You're in the middle of a call, and you hear this going on, and then say, "Well, hang on, I'll be right back," and you hit the flash button, and then you go out, and then these guys are, hello, you just won a lottery or some stupid thing like that. Yeah, they're a pest. If Salvador Dali designed a watch, Uh, would it melt on your wrist, and would it hurt? It's comments like that, Foreman. By the way, too, there is a watch that I absolutely love by Cartier, and it's called the Cartier um, Tank Follet. And it looks like somebody had melted it, but they did this movement. It's just an amazing watch. It's a woman's watch, and they're 45,000 bucks if you can find them still. They're really amazing watches. Hey, James, come. Tell them smiles are contagious and move on. Usually it gets a laugh unless they have massive dental problems. Jesus. Hoping for 50. Hoping for 50 what, Kaz? Hey, Mark, how's it going, man? Britt, hi, Britt. Let's see. Heels just. That's is that just heel backwards? Uh, Ignoring Milton is easier. Okay. I think it's easier for some to insult a brand or reference instead of admitting they know nothing about it. Clyde, I think that's true. A lot of times sometimes people just want to get into the conversation. And I think a good way to do it is say something stupid, which is really the opposite. Or they've heard something and they get something secondhand, and they try to make it sound like they really know what they're talking about. They don't. Um, what I enjoy about this hobby is that it transcends politics, economic class. I simply block trolls. We all try to do that, Mike. That's the other thing. I think that's a lot of things we all like about it. We transcend everything from international boundaries to politics to language, you name it. And I'm my hope for world peace are watch collectors. Once we can get all along, I look at politicians as trolling each other's party and trolling each other's national political. Okay, let's see. What's going on here? Decon, somebody's message is gone. Okay. Is it true that mid-tier brands have plastic parts in the movements? Gee, there's some that do, but I don't know. Some have plastic and some have nylon, like a nylon gear. You can find a lot of toys with nylon gears in them, wind-up toys. I don't know. It's a good question though. See, this is the kind of thing. If somebody knows, then we can talk about that rather than people saying, that's not a real watch or something just dumb. I don't know is a great response, in my opinion. Hey, Airtoad, what's up? Cartier crash on Joma Shop for 65,000. Yeah, the crash is another one. The Tank Follet though is my favorite. I like them both though. I got to admit. Hey, Rich buddy, there is nothing wrong with ETA. After all, it's used in most watch houses. Nothing wrong with ETA, Rich Buddy. Never said there was. What's wrong is to try to sell it as a high horology movement and charge a bundle for it. That's or give it a phony baloney name, and that I think is wrong because it's misleading. Okay, the Lamania 5100 had plastic parts. There you go. We got some new knowledge. Hey, James Pay, should the manufacturers be trying to have more dialogue with us? Interesting that Vacheron lets you registering ownership and promoting interaction. Any other manufacturer do this? James, that's a real good point. At one time, there was this great, and well, they still have it, but it's not like it used to be. Vacheron Constantin had a site called the Hour Lounge. They still have it, but what there was a lot of dialogue and a lot of stuff going on. And some people who really, really knew a lot about watches were providing information. And they also were not too tolerant of trolls, which was really helpful. One of them is for quite a long time has had his own show. He got kicked out early on. That is something I wish they still had because I like that. I like that kind of dialogue. Now I don't think they really listen to the. They got see they're dealing with business models, and some of those business models do involve what watch collectors want. That's why Audemars Piguet keeps coming out with more and more Royal Oaks or some version of Royal Oak. And look what happened when they came out with their code line. This year, one of them won one of the three awards that Audemars Piguet won. Okay, I think that Basil World should be 1 week of conversations with the watchmakers and collectors. I had a great conversation with a lot of independent watchmakers, also makers at the AHCI. Those guys they're great. Um, who was it? Bruce and I and Adam had a great conversation with Stephen Forsay. It was away from the booth, and we were just sort of hanging out at a table, and we had this really good conversation. And yeah, I like those things too. Would you rather have a Tudor Black Bay with an ETA or in-house movement? Well, if I had my ruthers, I'd take the what's it called, the MT5 something or other. I'd rather have that. Okay. Okay. Why buy a $20,000 watch when you can buy it on AliExpress for $200. Um, oh, Mark, that's where I get my Rolexes. All my Rolexes from AliExpress for $200. They're great deals. Um, Watchmakers aren't interested in dialogue, but in monologue, namely, give us your money. More money, chumps. That is true. But here's the thing, they have to listen to us when we get smart. That's why information is important. They say, well, we can't manufacture a watch like this and nobody buys it. What are you going to do? Use it for a doorstop? It is to their interest to listen. And everyone wants to have a watch that they can, put together and get and ask for and get $20,000 for. But it doesn't work that way. First of all, there aren't that many with $20,000 to blow on a watch, and there's certainly not that many who can blow it on multiple ones. So that's those kinds of things I think come into play. That's one thing I'll say for Rolex. Rolex has got some. They have a nice gradation of prices because I think their Oyster Perpetual starts around four something, and it goes up to the sky. Also, too, the Oyster Perpetual and their Milgauss have the same movement, and yet they're mucho dollars apart in price. Some people it doesn't matter. I like the Milgauss because it's got that lightning bolt secondhand. That's I don't think the other one has zero Gauss in it. Okay, hey Jure, how you doing, man? Paul, how's it going? Um, JamesCon 11. See, they have a lot of interesting examples of a longa. Okay. Um, Basel World 2020, the Rolex presentation will just be an executive walking on stage in a 10K suit and giving us a figure. I, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, he'll be wearing a Gronfield too. That'll teach us. Do you know if PEDX complicated Nautilus movements are integrated or modules like Royal Oaks? I don't know. Chi-Town. It's like. Oh, by the way, too, I got it. My Patek Philippe magazine came in. If you have a Patek Philippe, even an old one like mine, sign up with them. And this is a really fantastic magazine. It had great photography, lots of interesting stories, and of course, you know you can find out how your Rolex is not yours. You're just taking care of it until Junior gets out of jail. Anyway, hey Batu, what do you think about the future of CEO-driven companies with an old name, Beauvais, Ferdinand Berthold? Good question. That's a really good question. Let's take Beauvais as an example of that, where you have this guy Pascal Raffe. This guy is the best thing that could have happened to Beauvais because I think it was sometime the last Beauvais was around in the 1930s or right around in there, maybe 1940s. Somebody actually from the Beauvais family who was involved in the business, and then they sort of went away. And so Pascal Raffi comes along. He buys the old mansion that or the castle that belonged to Beauvais, the original Beauvais family. He did all of these things. He bought a movement company and restructured it into Demier and then gave it the money to build their own movements. He did all kinds of things that could have never been done if they just left it to the family because somebody's in a family doesn't mean they're a good watchmaker. Look at F.P. Journe. There are none of his kids who are really interested in becoming watchmakers. I think his son is a pilot, which to me sounds like a lot more fun than being a watchmaker. Watchmaking is really hard. Flying a plane is an adventure. Okay, so You have that. Let me see another company. Oh, yeah, H. Moser. H. Moser is a great example. Here you got these guys that come in, and it's been taken over, I think, twice. The second time by the Mayan family, and then they started up all of this really incredible um, sort of support structure, a vertical support structure that they have for it. So my opinion is that if they take over a company with the name, the namesake for it long gone, they could make it even better. All right. Other on the other hand, look what happened to El Lara. El Lara, they were putting ETAs in there and trying to pass them off as in-house. Made me madder than a wet hen because I was one who bought one. So it can go either way. Okay, quick whiz watch check. Quick whiz watch check. There's my watch. Um, this is my FP Journe chronomet survey. Okay, I'm 90% positive those Nautilus is fully in-house. AP builds its chronos on top of outside motors. At least they have. Again, they that's something I don't know about. AP now has an in-house chronograph, though. Okay, Raffi revived his brand. He did, man. He not only breathed life into it, he made it into a top notch. In just a few years, last year at the Grand Prix, they won the Aiguille Or. I mean, they won the. I mean, that's not easy to do. You're right, Kaz. He really did. Wasn't the same thing done with Chopek? Chopek, the original, it was before there was Patek Philippe, there was Chopek Philippe, and then Chopek, who was a watchmaker, left. Patek, let's see, Philippe was I think it's this way. Philippe was the business guy, and then Patek came along, or was the other way around. Yeah. I am not okay. Let's see what else is going on. Victor's new AP made me want one. Okay. Steve Bow, flying anything is hours of boredom punctuated by seconds of pure terror. Now, if you fly with me, that's certainly true, except I try to give more more minutes of pure terror. You get into some weather, and that will makes life interesting real quick. Um, okay, well, let's see. It's 4:02, so our time's up. And anyway, so listen, thank you all for putting up with me today. It was somewhat of a rant, I guess. Um, it's like, you know. Oh, by the way, Kaz's point, you start talking to Kerry Wooten Lawn and you never want to leave. That's true. He's the greatest guy and knows so much and makes great watches. Anyway, take care. By the way, we are having a. I think you're going to like tomorrow's collection review. It's a real review. It's not a mini one. I've got to redo Adams to include everything that he's done. Hope to see you then. Take care.